Okay, I think we are ready to get this HubSpot User Group started. Welcome to you all. This is actually the first session we have in this specific HubSpot User Group where we try to uh, get around information that is centered around manufacturing companies and those industries. So I've been very much looking forward to this. So let's get started, and it's great to see all of you here. Um, so today we've decided to nerd a little, I guess, focus on a very specific feature of the HubSpot platform, meaning calculated properties. And first, I would like to give you a little introduction to what this manufacturing HubSpot user group is supposed to do and what we would like to gain from it information wise. We will kind of divide it into two types of sessions. Some of the sessions will be trying to share learnings from inbound driven successes within the manufacturing industry. Others will be more in how to use specific features of the HubSpot platform in manufacturing. This session is a good example of that. And basically just have a chance to meet other people, inbounders and HubSpot users, where you have specific industry challenges where you can share information. That's the whole purpose of this. So that also means this is a community-led, non-commercial initiative where we try to share as much information around the HubSpot platform as possible. Myself, my name is Lars Lauritsen. I am a senior inbound strategist and leading the office in Aarhus for Helium B2B, a HubSpot partner. I have been working on the platform for more than 10 years now and worked with HubSpot as a platform and with inbound strategies for B2B companies in that area. And yes, I'm the hub leader of this HubSpot user group. So really looking forward to get that getting kicked off. Today we're going to look at calculated properties, as said. So we will look into what is a property, what is the part of properties called calculated properties, in what situations can you use it, what kind of use cases could we foresee, how to use it. I'll probably get a chance to go live into the platform so we can test it a little. And of course, we will also try to have some time for Q&A if needed. So that's what we're going to do today. This is kind of a short format. It's around 45 minutes, so we'll just get into the nitty-gritty of it. I hope you're okay with that. If you have any questions during the session, feel free to use the Q&A panel. I have Nora from us controlling this session. So he will take any questions you have in the Q&A panel, and he will share it to all of us during the session. If you have any questions you would like to discuss during the session, feel free to do so, of course. Let's look into properties. I guess we all know that properties and what they are inside the HubSpot platform. Property is basically a thingy that stores some information about a contact, a company, a deal, a ticket, or something else within your company that is then saved within the CRM. Simple example could be first names, last names of a contact. It could be company names, company URL, annual revenue, things like that. All of that are inside properties. And HubSpot divides properties into two big sections, one being standard properties, as the ones I just talked about, meaning email, phone numbers, company names, and stuff like that. But HubSpot also supports, as you may know, custom properties where you can define your own data sets. So you can describe something that is unique for your company that you also want to have saved inside the CRM of HubSpot, and thereby also can use it actively in your processes within your company. So you're not limited to only standards data. You can definitely engage in your own data, and that is often a thing that is utilized a lot in manufacturing, because you will have a lot of other systems where it makes sense to share information with the two platforms, or three platforms, or four platforms, as we can have many platforms within a manufacturing company. So HubSpot properties are basically a thing where we can track interaction history, we can save data specific for your business needs, we can then segment contacts and companies and deals and all the different objects within HubSpot by using these properties to filter the information, and we can thereby personalize information with dynamic content. We can trigger workflows within HubSpot to do different things within the platform. Much of that is known, I'm sure, but it also means we can manage and customize things. So properties can be created, edited, and organized into groups, and HubSpot allows us for setting property permissions to manage data access. Also something that is often needed in manufacturing, so data is only showed for the people who actually need the data. So practical examples of a normal HubSpot property would be for contact first name, last name, and it could also be a score of something where you need to track customer satisfaction, as an example, having a property that can handle that as well. So let's dive into the thing we want to discuss today, and that is calculated properties. And I've written here a hidden gem, and that's basically because when I look at a lot of platforms, I would say this feature is probably underutilized. Many platforms don't have any specific custom calculated properties, and I think it's because a lot of HubSpot users are not really aware it's there. So let's try to dive into what we have hidden here. HubSpot calculated properties, if we should try to define it, and if you look at the right, you can see you can just select it as a field type, as any other property type, where you have the different types here. But it's basically a property that is using a formula to determine the value within the field. So where other fields are, you put that information in either manually or automatically, these are calculated in some way. And you have different types of calculations, so to speak. You can do, take the math part of it. We'll come back to that a little later. You can basically do some Excel-like calculations within a calculated property. But you can also do date calculations, which I think a lot of people are not aware of, that you can calculate the interval between two dates. So if you have one date for a creation of something and the end date of the same thing, you can create a property that shows the difference of those two dates. That can be really beneficial both for reporting, but also for automating onboarding flows, sign up of spare parts and stuff like that. How fast are we in doing these things? Thirdly, we can also do text calculations, so we can manipulate text strings, and I think we will get the time to show that a little later. So if I should give you a few examples of how this could be used, it could be derive new insights from the existing data you already have by combining multiple properties into one single metric. That can be really, really beneficial for a lot of companies to try to understand business processes as best possible. You can also, as an example, generate scores, lead qualification scores, or customer health scores, as I mentioned just before, for your specific situations. And as said, you can do calculations on durations, time between leads, first contact, and deal closure, as an example. Or you could do the same thing I said on things like spare parts. So that picture reminds me of me back in the late 70s, I guess, where this one was one of the most popular calculators in the world. And I'm showing it because many of the buttons you see in this one is actually supported by calculated properties if you need to do calculations within a calculated property. So the benefits of calculated properties are definitely the accuracy of data. You ensure that your calculations are consistent over the different objects in the database. I'll come and show you that a little later. So you can be kind of prone and for errors. It's also very efficient because it's automated and just runs automatically in background. You will save time by using these properties and trying to avoid exporting data into Excel and do repetitive calculations. Because it's dynamically updated. Values are updated automatically as data is changing in the background. So if you have one field saying 1 and another field say 2, and you do the sum of those, it gives 3. If one of those fields changes for some reason, the calculation will automatically change immediately as well. So examples could be creating a deal value property that multiplies the number of units for a product and the unit price, so you can automatically start to calculate total deal sizes. Or you can calculate days to close an order by subtracting the deal start date from the deal close date. Some of these already exist as calculated properties, but just to give you an idea of different user scenarios where this can be really, really beneficial. Something that is good to be aware of if you start using calculated properties within HubSpot. First of all, it's only available on Pro and Enterprise licenses. And a few months ago, the limit on Pro was actually, in my opinion, a big limit, because you were only able to create 5 calculated properties on a Pro license, which, when you get the idea of calculated properties, would very fast mean you would run out of calculated properties, which was kind of a shame. HubSpot did an upgrade of this specific part of Pro licenses a few months ago, so they raised it from 5 properties to 25 calculated properties. If you're on Enterprise and just have a single hub that is on an Enterprise license, you have access to an ample amount of calculated properties. Then you have access to 200. These limits, of course, exist also because they do run in the background at all times. So HubSpot also needs to ensure that your platform runs smoothly, even with a big number of calculated properties. So just so you're aware of it, if you slip into a limit like this. Okay, let's look a little into possible use cases within manufacturing. And I've just 4 examples here, more than the ones I just gave in the introduction. One of the things I look quite a lot on lately is what I would call advanced lead scoring. And what I mean by advanced lead scoring is that lead score where you combine different scores. So let me try to explain that. A typical lead score in HubSpot or any other marketing automation platform is very often only based on what the contact is doing on your website, on your forms, on your ebooks, things like that. So you're basically looking at the behavior of that contact. Are they are they visiting specific product pages? Are they downloading this piece of content? Are they signing up for a newsletter? So everything they do actively around your website is often the part of generating a lead score. That is, of course, important that we score on what people are doing, but it should also be very important that we look at, is this actually a person, a contact that we believe can end to be a customer for our manufacturing company? And that's why we often recommend to split the score in different parts. So besides having the behavior score for the contact, you could create a score that focuses on, is there a fit for this specific contact? That could be, are they within your personas, or do they have the title of, what could it be, a company, the production responsible for a manufacturing company, where that could make sense, where your product makes sense for that specific group of people, could be an example. So different kind of scores that fits around the contact. So now you have the behavioral contact, and you have, are they actually a good fit within that company for your product? Thirdly, you could add a score based on the company itself. Is the company that person is in, is that the right size? Are they in the right the right country, within the right industry? And you can start building a score up from those different parameters. Do they offer different kind of services? Make that part of it as well by doing data enrichment in different ways. So suddenly we have 3 score models that make sense, but they are kind of not combined. And that is where calculated properties can be really, really strong, but because we can build then a calculated property that sums those 3 up, or maybe give them different weights within your calculation to give you a much better score for evaluating your leads, for the likelihood they will actually be a customer of your company. Another example could be deal scoring, where we focus on the specific deal. So we can create a calculated property that can automate based on multiple criteria, like conversion time, the sales effort, resource allocation. So we can start building up a specific score only based on the deal information we have. And often that is nicer to do in a calculated property, because we have more advanced parameters than if we compare it to what is a normal HubSpot score that is based on points of interactions. One area I think that where this can be very, very nice, especially in sales, in manufacturing, is to have inventory turnover ratios within the CRM. So I have that data available directly when I'm talking to customers. So that could be via an ERP integration. I have the information of the different numbers of spare parts that are available. Then I can also build calculations where, based on that information, historical, how fast is my turnover of these different spare parts. I can give much better information for the people I am talking to over the phone to see if we can help them in a specific situation. Do we have the products available? What is the chance for that? We have to be. Do I think we can get it in 1 week, or in 4 weeks, or even later? So I can give a much more informed discussion immediately, because I have that information available, because I have the data from the ERP system as an example, and I can do a calculation that fits our situation. We can, of course, also start to generate the customer lifetime value by looking at all the different deals we have had with this specific customer over time. So we have the historical purchase data, we have the average order value, and we have the purchasing frequency for a specific customer. And those numbers we can then start to put together in a calculated property. helping us targeting and prioritizing our high-value customers. So basically, look at as good a retention as possible for our best customers. So, how do we use these small beasts within HubSpot? And I think I will try to go into that now. You will see that it's very, very similar than other properties within the platform, because calculated properties are just a type of a property, and I'll show you in a few minutes. Then we'll just go live over into a demo platform. But I think it's important to understand that data you can access in a calculated property is not only for that specific object in the HubSpot CRM. And when I'm talking about objects, I am thinking about you have a contact object, and within HubSpot you have a company object, you have a ticket object, you have a deal object, and it goes on and on. And you can access all the objects that are associated with that object record you are trying to build a calculation from at the same time. That may sound a little complicated, but when we look at the interface, it is pretty straightforward. Here's an example of where you are asking to get a calculated property type, giving the minimum value of something, of a field, and then you can start to say what associated records do I want to attach to it, and how do I want to filter those. But I'll show you in a minute. But I think it's important to say, remember that you can actually create that you can do calculations that are based on different types of objects here. So an example could be you could create a deal property that counts the total number of sales activities logged for a deal that is associated with a specific company or a specific contact within that company. An example could be all decision makers, how many decisions makers are involved in your specific sales situation, if you look at in a broad view over the total database. So a lot of valuable business information can be shown via calculated properties. A big slide, basically mostly for getting a proper idea of all the possibilities you have within calculated properties. So that got a little text heavy, but I think the way I would look at most of this is that if you can build something in Excel now, there is a pretty good chance you can build that as well in a calculated property within HubSpot. There are limitations here, but this shows you the basics of it, and I think that's a good way to look at it. This is kind of like Excel, so it's a good way to look at it. Let's go quickly through some of them. As mentioned, you can get the calculated property to show a minimum value for a selected number of properties. You can show the maximum value of that. You can count a number of records as an example. So you can get the number of deals, as said before. You can sum up different properties to get an idea of a situation where that makes sense. I made a stupid example before with 1 + 2, but I think you get the know. You can definitely find examples within your company where you can find that to be valuable. You can do an average over the values as well. So you have basically some of the standard functions you also know from a tool like Excel. Then you can do these date calculations, which I really find interesting for so many companies to do much more precise reporting on business processes. So you can take one date and take another date, and you can get a calculation on the difference between those. And then lastly, there is a huge possibility in what is called custom equations, because you can also create a value, a calculated value that is based on your, what I would say is your own criteria, and not only the standard criteria. So that is where the Excel comparison really makes sense, that you can build something based on a formula. But I'll show you that very, very soon. And then I just want to mention that even if you haven't done anything yet, HubSpot they are from scratch implementing quite a few standard calculated properties. They don't count into your 25 or 200 values, but just so you know, they are part of your platform running here in the background for things they already know make sense, for contacts unworked, latest disqualified lead date, stuff like that actually makes sense in the broader scope for doing proper reporting later. So just so you know, they are already running there in the background. So how do you do this? And I just put this text slide so you have it when after the session. It is really simple, and then we'll move over to the platform itself. So basically, you just navigate to your account settings. You go into your properties part. You create a new property, and then you can start building up your wanted calculation. And instead, I'm saying that, I think I'll try to move over to our demo platform here. I think you see that right. And if you don't, please give me a nudge. So basically, let's try to look at an example. If I wanted to do an average deal amount for all the deals I have on that specific company, what is my average deal value for this company? And so basically what I do here, let's move to properties. And so I select properties down here. And you probably know this view. Let's say I wanted to do that deal amount thing. So I would probably put it on the company property to get that average value. I will then create a new property. And as normal, I'll have to put it somewhere where it makes sense. So let's, for this moment, put it into company information. I will give it, so it's easy to find again, average deal amount. I can't stress enough how important it is to give specific information. I'm not recommending what I just did here, but it's always good practice to set in information that makes it easy to understand what is this field actually doing, because in 3 months, who knows if you remember. And then I have to select field type. And as you can see here, we have a number of field types, and one of them is calculation. So if I select that one, you can see I can now build a calculation. And now I have to select what type of calculation do I want. And you can see I got the ones here I just presented before. So let's say I wanted this average of the deals. I can select, of the deal amount, I can select what type of number I want. And this is probably the right one because I want it as a currency, because it's a deal value. Then I need to select what associated record type I want to get the information from, and that's deals in this example. And please note, we don't have to use all the deals to doing this average calculation. You can use association labels, which, by the way, should have its own session, because that tool is very valuable for many situations in segmenting the data you have within your CRM database. So you could select an association label, difficult to say in the morning, apparently. that controls, we are only supposed to calculate on these specific deal types. So that can be really, really beneficial. And then I have to select what existing property do I want to calculate on. So I want to do it on the amount in the company currency in this situation. And you can not only filter it on association labels, you can also filter it by very specific criteria, depending on your needs. So I could go in and say, I only want the calculation done on these specific, this specific deal states. So you get the calculation based on the data you want the calculation on. Let's remove this just for the time being. Let's create that property, and that's it. Now the calculation starts. And if you don't trust me, let's go to companies. I will do a quick add that calculation. That's why I wrote test. So I will now go in and find that property I just did. It's right here. Click here, and let's move it up and close to the top so we can see it here in my view. And here you go. We now have a property showing the average deal amount for that specific company. So that calculation is, of course, simple if there's only one deal of that company, but the moment there are 2, 3, or 200 or thousands, which is not unnormal for manufacturing companies when you have repeat customers for your products, this can be a really, really valuable property. And remember, now you can use this for other actions within your CRM. It can be used to trigger workflows. If a certain value is going up or down or whatever is needed, that can really make a lot of sense in supporting your own business processes within your company. So that's one example of how you can use it. I would like to show you one other as well. And that could be on the text part. If I go back into properties, let's say on contacts, I have always wanted a full name property of my own I could use for personalization. So I'm not only using it for different things. Sometimes it's nice to have last name and first name by itself. Sometimes it's nice to have the full name for different scenarios. So let's just show how you could quickly do that. I'm on the contact object then. I will put it in some information, full name here. I'm going to leave that out, even though I shouldn't. Then I need to create a field type that would then be a calculation. Again, because now I can go in and say I want a custom equation. Now we're going into that big Excel part, right? I talked about before, because now we can start to build a formula down here. As you can see, very, very simple at the moment. This 1 + 1 is giving 2. This part is really, really important when you test your customer equations for correctness. So you can always test it down here if the result is what you expect. Let's go quickly to my example. I want to do some text manipulation, so I have to select string here. You can see the different options. And now I can start to select what do I want to put into my calculation. So I want to put in first name. Yes, you can actually do this. And I want to concatenate it because I want to combine it. So I just see, you can just write it down here. So concatenate, and then it gives you a really good description of what it's doing. So I'll combine these two. So I will put it in here. And as you can see, you can just write it directly in. So first name, then I need to put in a comma right here. Then I would like a space. So I just do it like this, giving it a space, a new comma for the next string. And that would then be last name. There we are. And that's basically it. This would build a new property within my CRM, giving the full name of that person. And as you can see now, I can test it. So if I wrote here my name, if I'm done my job good, I can click on test formula, and you will now see what this output would be in that property. So very, very strong solution if you need to do text manipulations as well. So just to give you an idea and just looking a little into it. You can always go in here, and I would definitely, if I should recommend anything, go in here and have a look at all the functions. So what functions do I have available for different scenarios? And as you can see, there's a lot. And different calculations, different manipulations of text strings. If I need everything in uppercase, this is a very simple way to do it. If I need it in lowercase as well, that's a good example of that, where you can make it easy for yourself. If you look at number calculations, you can definitely use a lot of different examples here for your calculations. Besides, you can do, as you saw before, do different calculations in different ways. And now I'm just keying in numbers, but you can also use your property values, of course, in that part. I hope that makes sense, because we cannot really dive a lot into this. I would really recommend you to look at this and look at all the properties you can access within your portal, and start with the business idea. I would really like to know how this looks, and then start to build it up here. It's when you get the grasp of it, I would say it's pretty easy. So let's leave it at that. I hope that gave you some idea of what this part of HubSpot is capable of. I'll just put a few examples in here that you can maybe play with after this session of ideas, how you could do a lead score calculation. I put in a formula, but basically as an explanation. It's not the correct format for the one, but it's more kind of a human language. So you could take one score from email interactions, you would take another score from web page visit, you could take a score from what is downloaded, and then you could start to give them different values. You can simply give them different weights by putting in a multiplication within the different scores. Kind of like I talked about before with the contact fit and the company fit. Then we have average purchase value could be a thing. Look at the total revenue and divide it by number of orders. You could look, as said before, time between actions, one date and another date. You could therefore also look at customer lifetime values and start calculating on those, if you have the values behind that as needed, as many of us have. And the last one is basically what I just did, having the contact first name and the contact last name to get a new property, giving the full name. So just as an idea base to get you started with your own experiments with calculated properties in this area. I would also like to, shortly, before we go over to the last part of this session, that calculated properties are not static. Very bad morning joke, perhaps, but if you look into the HubSpot product updates, you will see that things are happening all the time with the interesting updates within the platform. The last one came here in March on doing calculated properties on the different deal stages. You could actually see that when I did that part. So that is also a thing that is worth looking at on the product updates part, that this is a functionality of HubSpot that is growing. So maybe you're not capable of doing it today, maybe you then are tomorrow. So that's worth looking out for. I've been talking a lot, and I hope that's okay. This was basically to give you some background and some ideas, and hopefully some energy to try this out within your own HubSpot platform. I think this is a good time if there's any questions before we end the session, that now you have a chance to ask. And if you don't, that's also fine. If you are eager to go on experimenting on your own, please feel free to do so. But let's see if there's any question. Nor any questions in there?
So far, we do not have any questions except Jordy asking if he would be able to receive the webinar recording afterwards, which of course is a possibility for everybody attending.
Definitely. You will get, as far as I know, Nora, you correct me if I'm wrong, everybody will get an email with the links to both the slides and the recording.
That is correct.
Okay, this was the first session of this specific HubSpot user group. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have any ideas of future subjects, please send them to me or to Noah. We will definitely look into it, because this is not our group. This is everybody's group, and we really wanted to thrive on your ideas and your needs, and we will then try to do our best to either present it ourselves or find the right people to do that specific presentation or discussion. So I hope we can get that environment up running in the coming sessions. We will have sessions each quarter, so rest prepared for the next one in a few months' time. So I will end this session and say thank you to everybody who has been on the session. It has been a pleasure that you wanted to participate, and I hope to see you in 3 months' time for our next HubSpot user group. Have a great time. Bye-bye.